Good morning. Are you tired from yesterday? Is that it? Yesterday was amazing. It was just a fabulous day for the women coming out, and 251 when we only have 110 women in the church. And that did not include the men, okay? We didn't include the men in that. Of course, the men had a lot of fun. Here's the key, ladies, the food. You bring in the food, and the guys will be there, okay? That's how it works. So it was kind of cool. A lot of gifts were given out, door gifts. Alyssa stayed for the second, the Latino group. She got 2 gifts. What's with that? Where's Alyssa? Yeah. So she felt so guilty she gave it away to someone. No, that's just her heart. It was awesome. Of course, Helen did say she had nothing but compliments about the church. She said, "You have an amazing church." And then she said something else. She said, she was talking to Barb, "You and Jay are so happy." Yeah. What can I say? Amen. So anyways, today I thought I'd talk about an element in our lives that is so neat and so vital and yet so hard to obtain. And it's being one in spirit with God and with each other. And there's a lot of reasons why we're not one in spirit. And we're going to talk about that. It's really the breakdown of emotional bonding that we can have with one another and with God. And if you're with me for a while, you'll know that when I study the Bible with people, I ask them a few questions. First thing I'll say is, what is your relationship with God like? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being miraculous and 1 being horrible. Where are you at? And they'll say 6, 7, something like that, and I'll say, why? And usually they're like, well, I don't read my Bible enough. I don't pray enough. And what it really comes down to is a feeling. They just don't feel close to God. And it's true for a lot of people. They don't know how to emotionally connect with God. God is way up there. How do I have a relationship with someone so amazing? Well, the way you do it is learn how to do it here. And then you can do it up there. Then I'll ask them, why do you want to be a Christian? And you get all sorts of crazy ideas. You know, ultimately you get the, I don't want to go to hell kind of thing. And some people are like, I feel so guilty about my life. I just want to be free. And it's all these selfish motives. I want a relationship with you for what I can get out of you kind of thing. But then once in a while you get the person, I just want to love God. I just want to know God. And that's what it's really all about. That's what God wants. And that's what we want with each other. And a lot of times we don't understand that, but if you can't have relationships, you suffer for it. In the 1960s, they did this little experiment. And you know how they always do these experiments with monkeys, right? You knew about it? You know this one? Anyways, what they did was they had 2 monkeys in 2 different cages. And they had one with a fake monkey mom, all right? And it was all over the mom. But then they had another one in there that had another fake monkey mom, but it had all these spikes. And that little thing would just keep trying to hug the mom. And it just shows you how necessary it is for people to really bond with one another. Let's look at Acts chapter 20. We're going to talk about this in depth.
Come on, bro. Come on, Jay. Preach it.
Acts chapter 20. And there's 3 elements to really having great relationships, to be one in spirit with one another. Now, Paul is about ready to leave Ephesus. And he's talking to Ephesian elders here. Acts chapter 20, verse 36.
Come on, Jay.
It says, when he had said this, he knelt down with all of them and prayed. They all wept as they embraced him and kissed him. What grieved them the most was his statement that they would never see his face again. Then they accompanied him to the ship. All right, we see three things here. First of all, you have the physical. It says they embraced and they kissed. Now, in a lot of ways, that's hard for people to do. Now, if you were like me, when you first came to the church, you saw all the hugging. You know, everybody's hugging each other. And, you know, I came in, and of course, some guy wanted to hug me. I was like, you know, go hug him. You know, I just, what are you doing? And I just didn't like that kind of thing. And a lot of it is because I never grew up with it. All right? I just never had that physical touch in the relationship. Then you have the emotional. It says that they grieved and they wept. The emotional bonding is necessary to be one in spirit with God and with each other. Now, I grew up at a time when men don't cry. You know, they don't grieve, they don't cry, they're the man. And it's weak. You know? The Clint Eastwood thing. Go ahead, make my day. You know, John Wayne. Do the walk, pilgrim. It's a sign of weakness. Now, Ruth gave me a hard time a few weeks ago. Ruth does that. I don't know why. I don't understand it. What do you mean? I was sitting up front here, and something was going on. I don't remember performance. And she said, Jay, you had a tear in your eye. No, I didn't. What do you mean? No, I didn't. So why does that happen? Because we get hard hearts. There's a hardening of heart. Society can teach us that, but also there's a hardening of heart where we don't want to emotionally bond because it's painful. People will shut you down. Have you ever had that happen? You don't want to feel anymore. You don't want to cry. There's no warmth. There's no unity. Because the walls are so high and no one can get in. There's a song that came out in the early 70s by Simon and Garfunkel called I Am a Rock. And I remember listening to this and thinking, that's me. These are the words. I am a rock. I'm an island. I've built walls, a fortress, deep and mighty, that none may penetrate. I have no need of friendship. Friendship causes pain. It's laughter, and it's loving I disdain. I am a rock. I'm an island. Don't talk of love, but I've heard the words before. It's sleeping in my memory. I won't disturb the feelings that have died. If I never loved, I never would have cried. I have my books and my poetry to protect me. I am shielded by my armor, hiding in my room, safe within my womb. I touch no one and no one touches me. I am a rock. I'm an island. And a rock feels no pain. And an island never cries. Wow. That's inspirational, isn't it? But so many people can relate with that song. The walls are high. And the older you get, the higher they get. Because you've built up so much anger and frustration. We got burned in relationships more than once. And there's the expectation of, I will be let down. You've been told you're nothing. You're useless. You're a waste of my time. And it hurts. You're a problem. I'm going to put you somewhere where you won't hurt others. Have you ever felt that? It's real. You get shut down and it's hard to deal with. And it's hard to dig it up because it's so painful. A lot of times when we study the Bible with people, it always comes down to those close relationships that you got to deal with before they can deal with their relationship with God. And it's hard for them to let you in. Because what do you want? I just want to come to church and feel good. I want to feel something. And then you try to dig, and some people just bolt. They don't want anything to do with it. Too painful. But for those who do, it is painful digging up that stuff, but that's how you get healed. That's what a surgeon needs to do. He needs to cut to heal. It's the same for us. Did you ever see the movie Good Will Hunting? Oh, heavy. Here you got a kid that's so talented, but so shut down. And you got Robin Williams playing a psychologist, and after he's done, it knocks him out, knocks the wind out, he has to quit, he's got to go. He rescued the guy, but it was too much. And sometimes we can feel that way. We can study the Bible with someone, but it's so hard to get in there and get them to let go and get them to trust God. But without it, there's no unity. There's no one in spirit with God or each other. And it usually comes down to a broken family, some painful thing that happened in a family. And it was heart-wrenching to hear some of these women's story about the damage done in relationships in the family. So much suffering. Do you think that's what God wanted? Not at all. And so the problem, in a lot of ways, is broken families. So a few statistics, and there's 13.7 million single parents in the United States. They are responsible for raising 21.8 million children. 26% of the children are under 21. 84% are women, 16% are men. There's a huge issue in marriage because people don't know how to love. They drag all that stuff from the past into marriage, and it just makes it worse. The inability to bond. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He won't let me in. A lot of times he doesn't know how. He has an inability to do it. It's not that he doesn't want to, and some guys just don't want to, but a lot of times there's an inability to deal with it. And that's why we are so successful here in the church, in the marriages. I think we've had one divorce in 6 years, almost 7 years. How does that happen? By dealing with the very thing we're talking about today. It's amazing that what can be done if you're willing to let God in and let us in. Divorce is brutal. Damages. My parents got divorced when I was 16, and it was ugly. And I remember shutting down, deciding, and I remember not even dwelling about it, thinking about it. It's like it bounced off me. I was so hardened because it's just painful to visit. Never really ever had a heart-to-heart talk with my dad. Never did. Ever since I was a kid, we've never talked. That's the way it was. Never hugged. Never hugged. But when I became a disciple, decided I'm going to hug my dad. What an awkward moment. What are you doing? But now we hug. Now we hug. And we got to start somewhere. We got to cross that line. You got to be willing to suffer for people. I remember when I was a little kid, I was in second or third grade, and maybe I shared this before, I don't remember, but we were talking about nationalities. What is your nationality? I had no idea what I was, okay? So I came home and I asked my dad, what's my nationality? And he said, you're half idiot and half brat. And then I said, which half came from you? That just goes to show you where our relationship with that was at. But you can imagine what went on from there on and all the family. Now, I'm not unique. You know, there's a lot more worse things going on out there than what I went through. But it's true. We got to live with this thing. But we need to learn how to get unified. The third element in this passage is the spiritual. They prayed together. That's the glue that binds. And this is what can help us to be one in spirit with God and with each other. We're going to look at an amazing example of this. Look at 2 Samuel chapter 8. We're going to look at a man that God said was a man after his own heart. 2 Samuel chapter 8. Now, this has always been confusing to me. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around this thing. I'm going to read this to you, and I want you to understand why. 2 Samuel chapter 8, verse 1.
Come on, Jay.
It says, in the course of time, David defeated the Philistines and subdued them. And he took Metheg-Ammah from the control of the Philistines. David also defeated the Moabites. He made them lie down on the ground and measured them off with a length of cord. Every 2 lengths of them were put to death. And the 3rd length was allowed to live. So the Moabites became subject to David and brought tribute. Moreover, David fought Hadadezer, son of Rahab, king of Zobah, when he went to restore his control along the Euphrates River. David captured 1,000 of his chariots, 7,000 charioteers, and 20,000 foot soldiers. He hamstrung all but 100 of the chariot horses. When the Arameans of Damascus came to help Hadadezer, king of Zobah, there you go, David struck down 22,000 of them. He put garrisons in the Aramean kingdom of Damascus, and the Arameans became subject to him and brought tribute. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. You look at this passage and you think, wow, this guy is an intense dude. And the Bible said he was a man of blood. And you think about it. You just don't kill 22,000 people and it's all, just another day. But for him it was. And this isn't like you had machine guns. This is hand-to-hand combat. And here's the guy that cut off Goliath's head. And you think, wow, this is a man after God's own heart? How do you not get hardened by doing this kind of stuff? Well, let's look at his heart. Psalm 63. It's bizarre to me to think that you would have people lie down and measure and, okay, these 2 die, this one lives. That's just bizarre. But that's the kind of leader we're talking about. Psalm 63, verse 1. Now let's look at David's heart. O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My body longs for you in a dry and weary land, where there is no water. I have seen you in the sanctuary and beheld your power and your glory, because your love is better than life. My lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live, and in your name I will lift up my hands. My soul will be satisfied as with the richest of foods. With singing lips, my mouth will praise you. On my bed, I will remember you. I think of you throughout the watches of the night, because you are my help. I sing in the shadow of your wings. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me. They who seek my life will be destroyed. They will go down to the depths of the earth. They will be given over to the sword and become food for jackals. But the king will rejoice in God. All who swear by God's name will praise him, while the mouths of liars will be silenced. This is an intense little dude. And yet he can have this relationship with God. My soul clings to you. Does that sound like a guy that can slay 22,000 people? It's just hard to understand that you can be soft in one way and so intense in another. But this was David's heart. This is who he was. And you look at this, God's heart was to purify and protect. That's why he supported what he did. He knew that these people would pull the Israelites away from God. And God says, listen, I don't want any other gods before me. And David was zealous for God's honor. And that is why he obeyed. Then you look at his heart towards each other. 1 Samuel 18. 1 Samuel 18, we look at David's other relationships. 1 Samuel 18, verse 1. Now we look at a man named Jonathan, another warrior. But he was the king's son. 1 Samuel 18, verse 1. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became what? One in spirit with David. And he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return to his father's house. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic, even his sword, his bow, and his belt. Whatever Saul sent him to do, David did it so successfully that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. This pleased all the people and Saul's officers as well. It says he became one in spirit with David. Okay, now you got one brutal man loving another brutal man.